Satyameva jayate nanritam satyena pantha vitato devayanaha yenat kramantyushayo hya atma kama yatra tat satyasya paramam nidhanam. Satyameva jayate nanritam satyena pantha vitato devayanaha yenat kramantyushayo ya atma kama yatra tat satyasya paramam nidhanam. Satye satyameva jayate nanritam. Truth alone wins, not na anritam, untruth. Truth lays out devayanaha, the divine path, vitataha, laid out. So if you lead a life of satyam, there is a divine path laid out for you by which the sages, freed from desires, verily ascend to that supreme abode of truth. Atkramanti. Atkramanti means ascend. Rishayaha. The sages ascend to the supreme abode of truth. Satyasya paramam nidhanam. Supreme abode, paramam nidhanam. Satyameva jayate nanritam. It's such a famous verse. We have heard of this mantra quite often, not knowing where is the source. So here is the source from the Mundaka Upanishad. Satyameva jayate. Truth alone wins. Now, how do you define truth? How do you define Satyam? So how do you understand the term Satyam and Asatyam? The one who leads a life of Satyam, he says, Devayanaha, divine path. The divine path, the path of the sun, the path of the light, the path to self-realization, which takes you to self-realization, the path of the light. And then you have the path of the moon, or the path of darkness. As you know, you may see light from the moon when you see from the earth, but when you go to the moon, when you land in the moon, there is no light there. So moon is the path of darkness. Harish, for that, you don't have to go to the moon, Harish, for that. There's enough light on you right now. Good to have you back, Harish. So the moon, there is no light. You know that, isn't it? So whatever light you see is only reflection. And there's also, since we talk of it, there is no light in the moon, but yet you see light. And the way we rationalize it is because it's only reflection of the sun. What is a direct analogy drawn from that is there is no happiness in the objects and beings of the world, but you think there is happiness in the world in name or fame or money or family or business or whatever in the world, whatever you're running behind. You're running behind something. You believe that there is happiness in that object. The happiness that you perceive is only reflection of the Atman. True happiness is in the Atman. Just like true happiness is in the sun, true light is in the sun, it's only reflection. The true happiness only emanates from the self, but we are running behind reflections. And don't we all experience that? Whenever we get to an object or being, we realize that there is no happiness there. But Harish, since I'm with you, can you throw some light on what is the path of Satyam? What do you understand being truthful, or truth always wins? How do you define truthfulness?
Guruji, the way I can see it is that you're honest with yourself in whatever you do. We're not camouflaging who we are, or we're not pretending to be somebody we are not. We're just being true to ourselves of who we are. Whether it's perfect or imperfect, we're just true to what we are. In the capacity in which we are at this present point in our life.
All right. Okay. Being true to what you are is being truthful. You don't put on a garb, right?
Correct.
You're not a hypocrite. So that's your way of understanding being truthful. Not wrong at all. Any more thoughts? How do you define, understand being truthful here? Oh, not just here, anywhere you can understand that. Okay, thanks, Harish. Gayatri, any idea?
Guruji, always truth, something like, I always feel that there are two paths, either one leads to the good and the other one is immediate pleasure or anything, like suffering or anything which becomes. So while deciding it, what is good for the self as well as for the society or whatever we proceed, that should be the path we should be taken, and that should be the Satyam. And that, of course, that should be supported by the conscious, that this is the way I am and this is the way the path has to be taken, like Shreyas and Pireyas, they say, so the walking on the path of Shreyas is something we have to follow.
All right, so Gayatri is saying Shreya, the path of the good, which is in the larger interest, vis-a-vis the path of Preha, which is to revel in self well-being, or when you only think of yourself. So that you define as being part of truthful, obviously supported by the conscience. Your conscience supports it. So you are able to get different perspectives. That's the whole objective of trying to get some input from you all. Any more thoughts? US?
The truth is God is within you. Like they said, Tattvamasi.
Indeed. Yeah.
The fulfillment only comes in when you realize yourself.
Yeah, but you're describing the state, right? When you say Tattvamasi, God is within you, you're describing the state. But now we are asking truth description of truth as a path, because here he says, one who leads a path of Satyam, there is a divine path laid out for you. So when we talk of a path, when we talk of being truthful, we're talking of the journey, we're talking of the sadhana, we're talking of the cause, not the effect.
The selfless actions, is it the truth? The path is selfless actions.
All right. The path you say is selfless actions. Not wrong. I have thought that way. Yes, but let me hear from others as well. You're right, Ma. Selfless actions. Okay. Hariji.
What we think, what we speak, and what we do, they're all one and the same. It cannot happen that I think something and I talk something. It should be all totally aligned.
Okay, I think crookedly. I act crookedly. And then what's the other thing?
I speak.
I
words.
speak the most
Yeah.
crooked fellow I am.
Yeah.
So am I being truthful? Just because I think and act and speak in a particular way, does it make me being truthful? Because I'm only adding the aspect of being crooked to the three clauses you gave to define Satya.
No, if I am crooked and if I am expressing what I am thinking in the without adding any color to it, if I am crooked and I am talking crookedly and expressing that I am crooked, then I am truthful. Whereas if I think crookedly and I talk in a different way, I'm very nice but I am thinking crookedly, then I am untruthful.
So from what I see, you are expanding what Harish said, that you don't put on a garb. Whatever you are, honestly, what I am today is what I show out to the world.
And I do it also in the same way.
So I perform crooked actions also.
Yeah, if I think crookedly.
In effect, I am a crook.
Yeah, true.
All right. All right, sir. Yes, Sitama.
Good morning, Guruji.
Yeah.
What Sir just said about being true to oneself, like you are crooked and all that, but that will not lead to Jayate. You may be true to yourself, but Satyameva Jayate means there is only one truth that will lead to victory. That is the absolute truth. And the absolute truth is the path to Atma. So I think at every moment, whatever we encounter in real-time life, we should make the choice. There is always a choice to us. One path leads to the world, one path leads beyond the world. So as we keep making the choice that goes beyond the world, that is the truthful path. That is the absolute truth. The rest are all relative truths. Like moon, we see there is light in the moon, but that's a relative truth. Actually, there is no light. The absolute truth is the light of Atma or whatever that truth is. I'm just saying Atma because for want of a better word. So that path, whenever I'm choosing that path, I'm choosing the truth, path to truth.
But how do I perform actions to take me to the ultimate truth?
When I'm confronted with an action, like I have to perform action every time, there is always a choice. We are consciously or subconsciously always making a choice. There are choices available to us at all times.
Yes. Yeah,
So there
but
is
the choice, my question is, choice between what?
Choice between an action performed with fruit concerning the world on one end, and choice of an action performed without, like it's a desireless action. Like I have to perform this action because it's a part of my life. In my lifetime, I have to perform this action for sustenance or whatever. It is not towards, like I want to do this. I have this desire. It should not be guided by a worldly desire. I may not be successful initially because I'm so entrenched in the world. But as I start consciously making these choices, the path itself will enlighten me as I go. So then I will start making more relevant choices which take me away beyond the world, which is the absolute truth.
All right.
And then these classes like these keep enlightening me that, okay, that choice I made yesterday was not the correct choice. I should have done this. That way, I keep learning all the time.
Fair enough. Appreciate. Right. Thank you. Well said. Yes, Setuji.
Always listening to the conscience, just going by conscience.
Can you expand on that?
No, our inner voice, conscience is the messenger of God, the inner voice. So that always tells you what is right and what is wrong. Just that is as we purify it, it is louder and louder.
Okay, the conscience. All right. Shivaji.
Yeah, truth is eternal. It is not bound by the time, space, or any of the elements. If it's a truth, it holds good at all times. That's what we keep reading again and again. So it's not bound by any this thing. If it's good for now, it's good forever. It's eternal.
Yeah, but you're right, Shivaji. But when you say that it's a matter of fact you're mentioning, when you say anything is a matter of fact, you're talking from an absolute standpoint.
Absolutely.
But we are trying to interpret the abhyasa vakya. When you say
Practice.
truth alone wins, truth lays out the divine path through which the sages have purified and attained the self. So we also have to follow the path which the sages have taken to attain the truth. So we're talking, this mantra gives from the point of a sadhak, from an abhyasa.
Practice.
So not from the standpoint of the goal.
Absolute stuff.
Not an absolute, relative standpoint. This mantra has to be understood. Therefore, the attempt is to understand how should I practice satyam in my every day-to-day action. That's the objective of trying to expand on this or get clarity to the word satyam. Okay, right. Thank you, sir. So Pushpama says the pure conscious path. Vasantama says following your own swadharma. Samyama, obviously, I think going by what Hariji has said, calling spade a spade, etc. Now, taking from all what you have said, Satyam is best understood with reference to the conscience, as Seduji said. Some of them others also have pointed out. But the degree of Satyam is to the extent your actions are unselfish or selfless. So the divine path is when your actions are without the malice of your own selfish attachments or selfishness in your attachments. So there is no selfish attachment. There is no selfish desire in the action. In effect, you perform every action with the spirit of yajna, with the spirit of sacrifice. In anything that you do, in anything, any thought, vacha, manasa, karma, no. Any thought, any word, any speech, any action, anything that you do, the intention is for a larger good with the spirit of sacrifice. So as long as there is unselfishness, but then there is the degree of unselfishness. In any unselfish action, there's always that proportion. If I am 40% unselfish, I'm 60% selfish. You don't see the 60% selfishness in that act, isn't it? So you need to raise the level of that unselfishness there until you come to a point where you're 100% selfless. But the only way you'll understand selflessness is by increasing the degree of unselfishness, the degree of sacrifice. To what extent can you go to a sacrifice? Now there's a limit of your sacrifice. You put a cap. If I do, I'll only do this much, or to this extent, I'll sacrifice for the larger good. So that limitation makes you asatyam. So the divine path is the path of unselfishness, selflessness, which is supported by the conscience. Conscience does not support anything selfish. When you do anything for Atma Karanat, in the Gita we learn, no? For one's own well-being. So what are the impurities of action is your own selfishness, your own attachments. So the moment the impurities are taken out, the ego, the impurities of ego, selfishness, attachments, taken out, the action becomes pure. That's what is a divine path. There is no point having so much jnanam when your actions are still impure. Are you able to perform sacrificial actions? I can have all the knowledge I have, but when I get down to the field, I'm thinking, how do I use the banner of the foundation to benefit myself? If all the time the thought is for my own personal benefit, my own personal agenda, what is the use of all this knowledge? All your ability to scrutinize the Shastras, you're still very selfishly attached to your own thoughts, your own life, your own things. What is the use of all that knowledge? No use. I would rather say, put aside the knowledge and get on to some field work. So karma is so paramount, so essential. Karma is nothing but unselfish or selfless work. What am I doing? Just ask this simple question. What am I doing to this source of knowledge? What am I doing? Am I doing anything? If I'm not doing anything, I'm a taker. Don't be general, be specific. Am I a giver or taker with reference to this particular source of benefaction? That's how you are very conscious of your various roles you play. See, right now, I'm a taker from this knowledge, from this guru, from this institution. What am I doing to pay back what I've received? You've taken so much from your parents, from your society, from your organization. Am I a taker with reference to the organization? Or am I a giver with reference to organization? So if you take every role and say, in that role, am I a giver or a taker? Am I a giver or a taker? To that extent, if you're able to, otherwise in that vastness and multitude of actions, we miss out our specific roles. Remember, in the Gita, we learn this world is not designed for the non-sacrificers. If you are not a sacrificer, you're unfit. So the divine path is only the path where you live a life of sacrifice. You must be a giver. Karma. Giver is not writing a check or giving a certain instruction. Giver is to work with the spirit of sacrifice. Which is what we're going to study in the Malaysian retreat coming up next month. The 3 pillars of wisdom. The 3 pillars of wisdom are Yajna, Dana, Tapa. It comes in the 17th chapter of the Gita. So how to live a life of, they are said to be the 3 pillars of wisdom. I didn't coin it. It's said from anonymity, from time immemorial rather. It's been said from the very beginning. So the 3 pillars of wisdom, Satyam, Jnanam, Tapa. So Yajna, Dana, Tapa, not Satyam. So if you follow Yajna, Dana, Tapa, then I'm being Satyam. And one of the thing is Yajna. You must perform actions with the spirit of sacrifice. You must do Dhanam. You don't do Dhanam, you don't do Yajna, and you want to spiritually evolve, keep your philosophy with you. You will go nowhere. You're only building castles for yourself. You will not grow. So real growth isn't that apparent pain of sacrifice. There is no sacrifice for the larger good. There is no pain, there is no gain. No pain, no gain. The truth laid out, the divine path by which the sages freed from desires verily ascend to the supreme abode of truth. So when you don't act on desire, the desires get rid, no? Cause and effect. When I'm acting on kamaha, only my kamaha will be fed. When I act on selfish desires are fed and they breed. When I don't act on the desires, the natural effect is the desires will not be fed. So they slowly start fading away. That is the result. So even there is a direct connect. The desires are, you're freed from desires because you're not feeding them. As simple as that. So the divine path is there is no selfish thought in your act. That is a divine path for you. So selfishness is not in the path. Selfishness is in the attitude in the path. There is nothing called as a selfish path and unselfish path. path is only defined by your swadharma, as Vasantama said. If whatever swadharma you are doing, you can be a cobbler, you can be a butcher, you can be a carpenter, you can be a painter, you can be a philosopher, you can be whatever you are. That is your swadharma, the path. But the attitude makes it divine. So the attitude of a sacrificer, the attitude of yajna makes you onto the path of satyam. Such people are naturally gravitated towards the true bliss or happiness. Ultimately, they experience the supreme bliss, which is the abode of truth. Very, very famous mantra. Very famous. Satyameva jayate na amritam. So what is the impediment for this application? What is the impediment to apply this quality of Satyam? Again, is your own selfishness. When I tell you to be unselfish, when I tell you to be a giver, when I tell you to sacrifice yourself for a cause, what is the impediment for that? Is your own selfishness again. So it is like a battle within yourself. Am I to be a giver or am I to be a taker? At every step of the way, you got to fight that selfishness and your own hidden agenda and sacrifice. Yes, Hariji?
What have they meant by the expression abode of truth? In this context, what is the meaning of truth? Is it Brahman or abode?
What is abode?
Is Nithanam?
What does it mean? English word abode, what does it mean?
It is the house.
Okay, so what is the question?
What actually has he meant when he says abode of truth?
You can only, it's a free for interpretation. Perhaps it could imply the supreme abode of truth is happiness, infinite happiness.
Okay.
Hmm?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Because we are constantly being gravitated towards peace or happiness, isn't it? So perhaps the supreme abode of truth is that ultimate happiness, infinite happiness. In effect, he's also saying that there is no happiness in any self-centered, selfish pursuit of life. The true bliss or happiness is experienced when you live a life of unselfishness. And then it leads you there further.